All right, thank you for clicking on to this video of part 3 of Intersection Observer Anime API Infinite Scroll video. I think I changed the wording around every time, but you get the point if you've made it this far. At this point, we already have the infinite scroll logic working, so this will infinitely scroll forever. And really all we're focusing on is the actual CSS and making it look nice. As a reminder, this is what our goal is for it to look like. We're going to go to mobile here since we're going to be doing mobile first. And let's go up to the top here. So we want a search bar, we want the anime thing. We're not going to make the search bar interactive. I think that'll be like an extra, like whenever I don't have anything to do, I'll be adding features to this, depending on how useful I find it. But the main thing is just this loading stuff right here. And then making it all look nice. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started here. One thing we don't have set up at all on ours is the background empty slots. So we're going to start with setting that up first, which means we kind of got to change a couple things up. Now I have done these video. So the point of doing these is because I am currently in the job market trying to get myself into tech. By producing these videos, hopefully I can give myself direction on the things to study, push myself forward, give myself accountability. But also, once I finish projects, I am re-recording them or redoing them and explaining them on YouTube. So I've learned a lot of things throughout the process of just making these 3-part series that I didn't know. And the biggest one was in the CSS realm because I'm putting more effort into learning the useful stuff of JavaScript, how to make it work. And as I make more and more projects, I think I'll really lock in the CSS stuff. I am using Tailwind, so my focus will be like kind of mastering that versus the normal type of CSS, I guess. But I'll be explaining some of those things and do some comparisons at the end of this video if we do quick enough on the things I learned. I'll try to explain it as well. So I give that prelude because the first thing we're going to do is correctly center everything here by putting it into its main div. So the one initial thing I was misunderstanding is that I thought this first page could just be a canvas, and we would want to make the main thing the canvas, the whole screen white, right? But that's actually messing up. In some of the videos I've tried to do with this CSS version, some of the mess ups I've realized was I was having trouble centering, and I actually even hard-coded the centering on my officially finished one. So in order to actually center correctly, what we want to do is we want to make this the canvas, which we will make full, and we're going to make the background white here. Now another thing is I've been using max W screen as, hey, expand up, take up the entire screen. But what it actually means is you can take up to the entire screen. It doesn't actually force it. By doing W full, we're actually forcing it to that full size, which is what we want. We're basically trying to create a canvas to put the whole website on. Then what we'll do is here within main, which is what we're going to put the whole website on. This is where we handle centering by doing MX Auto. And so MX Auto is going to center that. Let's go ahead and take a look at our site here. We'll turn this off. And did we save this? Yes, I know we're forgetting something. Let's go yes, not this. Let's do 7XL for now. And then that should be all we need here. There we go. So I wanted to show by putting a grid here. The reason it is on the left is because we haven't done anything to the actual column that we have set up here. And most CSS is left aligned, so it's going to be on the left. But as you can see, since we're calling MX Auto on our main div, that is where all our website will live on, and we're centering that right away. In my original project, I actually pushed this to the left, or I mean, I guess I pushed it to the right to adjust for this, whereas I've learned that this is probably a better approach. So That's the main reason for that. So we're going to leave this like this. The 7XL we will adjust, and it'll make more sense once we get to that. So let's leave it there now, and we're going to go to the list. In terms of the list here, the main thing we need to do is go from using the previous array to creating a new array with the length of the extra slots, or the length of render count. So now we're going to start using our slot count and render count. The basic idea is while we do have the current length, and it's not loading, we're going to use those 25 slots, and we're still going to be looking for the last element in this list. But the moment we start loading, we're going to add an extra 9 slots to that render count so we can keep going. So there's extra room. So it will call the loading, but it will continue rendering other empty slot styles. So in order to do that, first thing we're going to do is add this, because this is what we want to be seen into our slot. And let's actually just erase this and just paste this. Yeah, perfect. Leave it like that. And oh, my tab. We don't want this here. So we'll take this, and we want that on the other page. So perfect. Save that. Let's go back to lists. Let's paste this here for now. And they're going to rewrite this completely. So we're going to start off with the section here. And then we're going to create a div to put our new array in. And then we're going to go ahead and call array.from. Then the length attribute here, which is basically asking, you want to make a copy of array, how big do you want it? And we want it render count big. Then we're going to go ahead and map that new array that we made, that's render count size. We don't need an animate here because this technically is an empty array just of size 25 plus 9, but we do want the index. Now, one thing I was initially confused about is here I am going to be I'm going to be calling my arrow function with a bracket, which means we will actually return in here, or it means that we do have to call return. If we would have used the parentheses, which we were doing in the first video, you don't have to implicitly put the return keyword, but because we're using brackets or the dictionary symbol thingies, we will. And that allows me to call variable here real quick. So I'm going to use previous index to get the anime, and then we will return within it and set up a div so we can call our key. Oh, well, we already have this here, so let's go ahead and take it from here. Back. Yank the whole thing. Okay. Let's go to the end here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is call slot within this, feed it the anime. We do got to fix a few things up real quick though. First off, we don't know if we're always going to get an anime ID, so what we'll need to do is some ternary string real quick. If the anime is, we'll use that. If not, what we're going to do is set up some string interpolation just to make it unique. And we'll just use the index like that. So instead of it receiving just an index, it's going to receive slot index, make it unique. Okay. Now, let's make sure actually, well, actually, let's do this before we check if it's rendering. Let's just make it a grid here real quick. So we're going to make it a grid, and it's going to be a grid of calls 3. And I don't think I saved it. There we go. Perfect. So we get our grid. Let's actually go to mobile because we do want to set this up on mobile first and make it easier. And on top of that, with React, you do set everything up on mobile first. So, okay. We'll start off with actually, let's transfer this over now that we're kind of in our design mode. we got the base thing going. So we got our grid going. We are now using an array, and actually I didn't kind of show it off, but we should now be seeing those grids there. So this is the core logic. We now have those grids loading in the background. They don't look nice because we don't have anything organized, but we're about to do that. So cool, moving along well, good time as well. So happy about all of that. First thing we're gonna do is go to page, and I had mentioned we're gonna figure out what this max 7XL stuff is. So it is on how much room I want to give to this. So what we're actually going to do is I do like this for large. You know what? Let me show the differences off real quick. So max width, we're going to go with small here. Let's see here. Yes, that looks good. So that's kind of what that does. And if we go look at this in desktop real quick, we have now constrained it to that small size though. We don't want that. So that's why we're going to go large. And oh, I guess I already had the large there. So we'll just erase that. Now on large screens, it's going to look like this. But on top of it, I don't think we want it there. I think we're going to want it at 5. And then we want to go back to list real quick. And we do want to add this in for the larger screens as well, where we'll do grid calls, and we'll do 6. There we go, and that looks much better. Now let's go ahead and make the slots look a little bit better. So before we make any other big decisions, I do want to add a gap real quick as well. So gap, and we'll do 4 for now. Nice. So we do have some of these kind of uneven right now. I'll start off again with mobile. As we can see, some of these are uneven, so we're going to go ahead and give it an aspect. As you can see here, I left this here so you could see something I learned. I was kind of hard coding with width. It makes more sense to just set these as aspects instead of defining it like that, which means 2/3. We're going to make these the same size by setting them up that way. So to actually do this, I like to do this with the images since there's so much going on with these. Name equals aspect 2/3. Fit. And then we'll go ahead and round it. Let's do it small. Okay. So let me see. Let's go like that. And it doesn't look like it's been affecting it. So let's see why it's not affecting it. So let's reload. So we have aspect. So this, we're not even going to worry about that right now. This is for the image here. So we got aspect 2/3. I think what I'm messing up is I didn't even put a line. So there we go. And let's see if we need object fit. No, yeah. So that's a good thing about this. It literally just makes them bigger. So now they're all going to be that same aspect ratio. And we can see they're all matching. So we don't even have to do object fit. We don't need to stretch it out, anything like that. That's why I like this the aspect. And if we start going here, we need to fix this as well. If we start going down, we'll see that the aspect's going to look pretty nice. Yeah, it's perfect. Let's add the same thing here with rounded. We don't want that rounding too intense. I think it's just like a subtle rounding. Looks really clean. On the text small, we are going to add a line break basically. It's called line clamp to 2 lines. And we'll see that now it kind of has this right here where it has the ... so it doesn't show all of the title, which looks really nice. For this, we're going to go ahead and wrap it in another div. And then we're going to make another div that's pretty close to this as well in terms of the size. So class name, trying to figure out how we want to set this one up, because basically I want just a little box underneath it. Let's try this. Aspect 2/3, so it'll be the same size, but the height will be 5 or explicitly set. And then we'll have the same background here. I didn't close this div here, so let's close that. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look. Let's just reload so we don't have to go so far down. All right, so it's much tinier now that the height is being constrained. So let's just go ahead and do width 20. I want it to be a little longer. This is just preference at this point. And the height, I think I'm going to go to 4, just because it looked a little. And it's all also, yeah. We'll also make those rounded as well. I think that looks good. I'm happy with that. We're just going to change the color at this point. So let's actually go get the color. Be extra here. We'll just go to Figma real quick. Okay, so let's do this real. Let's get the app colors. So the background is going to be this color. And then what we'll do is we want the lighter background colors to be this one. So it's not too much lighter. They basically look the same almost. Let's make sure we got that right, because it almost looks too light. Oh no. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And then we'll have our text color be the lightest here. So Figma is amazing in all this design stuff, so I would highly recommend getting pretty good at that if you're into this type of stuff. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is just actually just make the background color. So we're going to go to page. Instead of it being white, we're just going to add a hex value. So now ours is that dark color. Then we're going to go to the slots. And instead of being this red color, we're going to make them this color. Itchy eye, itchy eye. Okay. So instead of that, do this. And then also same thing here. Again, at this point, we reached really big preference stuff. I think we got the majority of like the stuff done, but let's go ahead and take a look. There we go. Yeah, that looks great. That looks great. Then just get to the text color, and let's go get that color real quick. It's going to be this. And then also, yeah, so text is small. What is the bolding stuff? Oh wait, it didn't save. So that makes it look a lot cleaner, but we do want to add like a little bold to it. Tailwind, cool, 21 minutes. We're doing good, we're doing good. Font, weight is gonna be, let's do font medium, see how that looks. Font medium. Okay, that looks good. I think we want to make the text a little bit smaller. Yeah, so we have small and extra small. So let's try extra small. I think that's good. And then we're going to add padding to this. So that gave a little bit of padding there. And then we want to have an explicit sizing between the rows. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm forgetting what this is called. So let's go to here. And what I'm trying to align is the auto. So grid, auto, calls. Grid, auto, road. I think it's actually auto, rows, 12. And before we save it, let's actually go to the website so we can see things change in real time. So it's squishing everything together. So this will give us the control of the gaps. And I think 14 looks good. So 14 gives those gaps. Cool. Now we're going to go class name equals, and we're going to add some padding here to the top. And actually we don't want it. We want it to be padding. Top. Cool. And we're just going to do a little bit because we are going to add elements above that. But that looks good. I'm very happy with that. Everything's spaced evenly. The images look great. So yeah, that is that for mobile. Let's go ahead and go to desktop and finish off on desktop. And okay, so we basically need to do all the stuff we did for mobile for desktop. So let's go large, auto, rows. It's going to be 18 rem. And that's a little bit much. So we'll go 16. It's not, they shouldn't be too big of a difference. Okay. Noise. I think this is honestly looking pretty good. Like if we go and take a look at the difference between the desktop versions here. I would say these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're 5. So let's go do 5 here. Okay, a little squished. So we are going to large gap. It's going to be a little bit bigger. So we'll add like 5. Yeah, honestly, and that does look not too bad either. So, and then just go to slot here. And instead of it being small on this one, what we'll do is large text. Let's just do small, I mean, instead of extra small. Okay. When you go back to large and add a little bit more rem now that we did the, now that they're bigger. There we go. Oh, it's barely. Let's go to 20 here. Awesome. Perfect amount of space there. Okay. Then let's go to header. And we're just going to go and say export default function header, return, and we're going to return a div h1 tag here. anime. Okay. And let's go to list. Oh, well, we should add. And then let's add that white color from our Figma to here. And let's make this, how do we do weight again? Font bold, probably something like that. Font bold. Okay. Just go to header and we'll then make this text 5XL. Should be enough. Nice. And then we'll go here and create a new file real quick, calling it search.js. Let's go ahead and export default function search. And then we're going to return that bar. So let's go ahead and give a div class name to, just go with 20, height 10, div. Let's just close that out here. Okay. And then this we will want to add underneath the header. This is something that I do think could maybe be attached to the header since the header isn't being called a bunch. So import from we actually want it underneath it. Oh, and we want to probably add this light color here. So it does have a color so we can actually see it. Search. And this width, I would love it to be dynamic. So can we do like half the screen size, something like that? Does that work? There we go. Yeah, that looks perfect. Okay, let's go rounded. P, and oh, we gotta close that. And let's go ahead and say class equal text black. Okay. So flex, we want to make this a flex call. That should, oh. Nope, that's not. So that item sender will move things to the center. We want to align things horizontally centered is what I'm trying to do right now. And that did it. Okay, perfect. Let's go get image. Let me go move this image real quick into, because I do have a search icon image. Perfect. Okay. So let's go to search, and that's going to be and then we need the alt search icon. Okay, let's take a look. Wow, nope, not that. Woo. So we need to put a size here. Where do I put it? Class name equals, let's try with 5. Oh no. This image happens to be the exact same color as my background here. So let's do this. We're just going to change it a little bit. Yeah, let's try. Let's try that. Yeah, so that's what was happening. And then I do actually think I'm messing this up. Once I'll be able to see it, yes, okay. So let's remove this real quick. Move them to the side. And then they're not centered though, so we want to align. There we go. So aligning them center. Is that what I put? Item center. Move them horizontally center. And then what we'll just do is real quick add some padding left here. Let's do 5. It's too much. 3 or 2. Noise. Let's go to header. Padding bottom. Let's do like 3 here. Okay. That looks good. Let's go ahead and reload this. There is our anime infinite loader, looking pretty good. So you can see, we can see an extra like block that's not loaded in. So all we need to do to adjust that is just add more to this. So we could probably do like 12. That should fix our issue with not seeing any empty spots there. Let's keep going. Let's try to beat this. And there is like an issue where if you do go too fast with the loading, that it will break it. So as you see, I think that if we go to our example, as you see here, when we go to these lists, they have like it like stops it from going, like there's like a stopper. So I think what I need to do to make this project perfect is add a way to stop it like from loading. So even if we're at the end, even if we're loading and we've loaded those 25 elements, until they're visually there, block any further loading. And I think that's what I need to do. That was a bad example. Let's go to the trending. Yeah, so here, no matter how hard I try, it like almost like stops me for a few seconds before letting me recall it or keep going down. I need to add that to mine. But overall, as long as you keep just gradually going, it's to the point where you'll just almost never see that it hits those loading blocks. But if you do go fast enough, you'll see it there. So let's make sure that it looks good on mobile, because we didn't check that. Yeah, no, it looks great. I would want it to be just a little bit bigger, but honestly, let's see here. Let's add some top padding here to the header. So we have bottom padding. We're going to top 5. Perfect. And then let's go to search and 1/2. What is that's perfect there. So we'll do large will be width of 1/2, and the small one will be the 3/4 here. So if we go ahead and go back, everything should still be the same, looking great. The search is a little close for me, so let's go to search, text, padding left, and we'll add like 2. Two was too much, we'll just do 1. All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this is done. This is the end of the project. Everything else can be tweaked a little bit more. We are at 43 minutes. I'm gonna do a quick breakdown of this. If it's not, if it just is too long, then I might break it into another video. But since we already got to this point, might as well. So here is my first project, and let me actually put this on a window by itself so we can go through it real quick. So you're gonna see a lot of these things are very similar. I do have this root margin thing here. It doesn't look like it was needed. It looks like there is like an automatic margin added if you don't add this. This is only if you want custom, if you want to customize it a little bit more. If we go to our section here, we're going to see that a lot of the things we did were different. We didn't add flex column. We didn't do item centering. We didn't add an overflow auto. None of this stuff was necessary. Instead, in our project, all we needed to do was give it a little padding because we wanted padding on the top. And then we just do the grid columns. The auto loading it just happens by itself. You don't actually need that overflow auto. Actually, in our approach right now with how we have it set up, if you did add that, which was about an hour and a half ago when I recorded this, I had the auto flow added because I've done it every time I've done this. But with our new adjustments of having the page centered here correctly, it makes it so it constantly calls our anime API. So it was actually breaking it. So it was a huge headache. So this is better approach to do it this way without that stuff. Create a div, create your canvas, set it up as you want with the full width so it takes up the whole page. Create an inner div where you want all your website components to go and organize it there and center things there. It'll make it much easier. Basically, we always had an issue where it was either left aligning or the grids were just slightly off where it would be annoying, whereas right now, this just is perfectly centered. Everything's perfectly spaced. It makes a lot more sense. Let's see here. So if we go to page here, we'll see that all that's going on here is a min H, nothing else controlling that layout. Everything in ours is using width set with these numbers. I think it's better to use the aspect ratios. We did still use it some of the places, but that was another difference. But the biggest thing was just kind of going over that overflow and the centering. So that was the biggest change between this version and the other one. And yeah, so honestly, I'll keep this in here because it wasn't that big of an overview. I will, one thing that wasn't heard about this, and I'm gonna mention it in my summary, so it's not only the people who got this far that will know about it. I didn't use GitHub throughout this process because I had already uploaded this project like 3 or 4 times on GitHub. It would have saved me so much time than any other project I do from this point because I did so many edits, would come back so I can re-record and kind of explain things to you guys. It would have made it so much easier. So I can always just be like, you know what, I messed this up. Just revert back to this point from video part 2 and then keep going from there. So I just didn't want to have this project on there 4 times, but I will be uploading this version to GitHub so you guys can get this access to this code. I should have done it from the beginning, but it's going to be available now. Thank you for watching this series. Things are going to become a lot smoother from here. There was a lot of practice, a lot of learning lessons that went into this. So I appreciate it, and hopefully it was helpful to you. Have a good one.